health goals. It's about changing your mindset and habits. It's about Noom. Go to Noom.com/herd, Noom.com/herd. So can I give you, of course I can, Joy, I have this theory with my kids.
Okay.
Okay. Doesn't mean it's right. It's my theory. And I tell my daughter all the time, you're not competing against 50-year-olds when you get out of college. You're not going to get paid like a 50-year-old. You're not going to get paid like a 30-year-old. You're competing against all the idiots in college at 20 that are looking for jobs because they're not going to pay you much. And most college kids, I mean, I went to college. 99% of the guys I went to college with didn't know what the hell they were doing. I was totally focused and had no life, didn't date, total loser. But I tell my kids all the time, rare happens. Unique happens. Once in a lifetime happens. It is your responsibility to be ready. I tell my daughter all the time, I want to get my backpack and go to Amsterdam. Do that in college. Okay? Grow up in college. Because the minute you get your degree, nobody wants to hear you want a backpack to head to Ireland. Be ready to play. Because I'm ready to hire 20-year-olds. You're cheap. Rare happens. I always take my running shoes on the road, even if I go in the winter to Seattle. Why? I may get 3 straight days of sun in Seattle. Rare happens. Be prepared for it. I tell my daughter, you could be 21, Amazon.com offers you a job, they give you stock options. It is the only time in your life a great company offers you stock options. You're never cheaper than when you get out of college. You're never more attractive to employers. They can mold you, they can teach you, they can pay you nothing. Be ready for rare. Be ready for unique. Be ready for once in a lifetime. Because you don't get many of those in your life. Be ready for it. Put your backpack down. If you didn't go to Amsterdam in college during your summer break, that's your problem. This is why I like Miami. The bubble is never going to happen again. The bubble has obviously, been very good for young players. Okay, old guys, they don't want a new adventure. Young guys play in the NBA, go home and play video games. That's what the bubble is. It's an AAU tournament, and it's never going to happen again. Okay, LeBron is not looking in year 17th for a new adventure in the playoffs. Dude wants to see his wife in the morning, his kids in the afternoon, get a day off, do a yoga, game tomorrow. He's over new experiences in the playoffs. He wants to win and sweep series and go on to the next series. We saw all these veteran players, all of them, even LeBron admitted early, this is tough. It's not as tough for young people. But credit to the Miami Heat, because rare happened, and because they do a great job finding talent and developing it quickly, Tyler Herro rewards them. Bubble's not going to happen again. But it's not a shock that Pat Riley's team has taken advantage of it. Yeah. Go to Amsterdam on somebody else's dime. My kids aren't doing it outside of college. I'm not paying for it. I'll pay for it when you're in college. Grow up then. But once you're done with college and you're competing against 21-year-olds, let them be the slackers. Let them go hitchhiking across Europe. You got to be ready, because this bubble's never happening again. And not a shock, Pat Riley's team is ready for it. The Miami Heat are ready for it. Eric Spoelstra is ready for it. That scouting department, excellent, is ready for it. Because rare happens about twice in your life. Okay, take the backpack off. Be ready to play. Miami was unique, gets thrown right in their face. And, oh, God, if I'd have told you, yeah, there's this weird NBA thing that happens. It's a once in a lifetime. It happens right during the playoffs. And you're like, oh, who ended up figuring it out? Be like, if I told you, yeah, Pat Riley. You're like, yeah, of course. 40 years of figuring it out. Joy with the news. No. All over the NBA playoff game, along with Brooks Koepka, where they couldn't stop showing. It was a wild game. It was a great game. I know it's great for you.
Great game.
3-1.
It was really fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was like being on air, but not talking for like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, both these conference finals feel like the other team could lead the series. I want to start with this, though. There's Joy Taylor right there. Let's show a picture of Joy. All right. That is so funny.
It was great.
That is so great. Let me start with this. What a shocker that the Boston Celtics and Miami Heat, two really well-run organizations who both have great presidents, GMs, and great coaches, are developing all these young stars. Isn't that funny how it works? You think of player development in college, right? Like you take a high schooler who's talented, but he's a high school kid, and then you get him in college, and Nick Saban polishes him up, or Mike Krzyzewski polishes him up. But players are now leaving college early. So player development is now a real responsibility in the pros. And what a shock. The Miami Heat and the Celtics do it really well. You know who doesn't? The Lakers. No 20-year-olds are dropping 37 for LeBron. As I've said before, of the 4 teams left, we know the Celtics and the Heat are well-run and developed players. Denver does too, but they don't have a history of it. The one team that doesn't is the Lakers. And I'll give you an example. Brandon Ingram leaves the Lakers, and an hour later, he pops. D'Angelo Russell leaves the Lakers, becomes an all-star. Kyle Kuzma's getting worse. When's the last like good player the Lakers developed? I'm talking homegrown. It's Andrew Bynum. Remember him? Yeah, not really. He was good very briefly and then fizzled. But the NBA is now a developmental league. You think of the G League as developmental. But nobody that's any good in the NBA stays in college generally for 4 years. So the NBA now on rosters is a developmental league. I mean, that's what it is. Sometimes you have to play the developmental players. Like Tyler Herro right now is better in the NBA than he was in college. Did he have a 37-point game at Kentucky? I mean, this is what's happening. It's such an advantage. I'll give you an example with the Celtics. When Marcus Smart came into this league for the Celtics, he was rough. Dude could not shoot. And I mean, he made Ricky Rubio look like, Jerry West and Steph Curry. Dude couldn't shoot. 18-footer, I'm talking hit the bad parts of the iron, if it hit it. Marcus Smart is so valuable for the Celtics. Now, Jaylen Brown was just an athlete from Cal, could not shoot. Those guys are so good, so trustable. That's player development. And this has been my knock on the Lakers. It's that they get stars. And I'm not saying you can't get stars. You got to go out and get a Kemba Walker. You got to go out and get a Jimmy Butler. This is the NBA. You're not going to win with 7 Tyler Herros. So everybody goes out and gets a star. What star do you get? Pat Riley's got a history. He goes and gets Shaq. He goes and gets LeBron. He goes and gets Bosh. He goes and gets Jimmy Butler. You got to choose the right star. The Knicks chose Carmelo Anthony. Houston chooses Westbrook. You choose the wrong star. So getting a star is valuable. But player development has never been a bigger deal in the NBA because they're not staying with Roy Williams for 4 years. They're not staying with Coach K. They get him for an hour. They're off to the NBA. And because you drafted him in the first round, you're not going to send him to the G League. You hope you don't. So it's not a shock that Denver, by the way, Denver's whole roster, mostly homegrown guys. The Celtics, they get Kemba, Gordon, homegrown. Miami. I mean, think about Duncan Robinson. First of all, you didn't know who he was a year ago. He's 26 already. How? He went to college for a long time. He was D3. He was undrafted. The guys like that don't end up in the NBA. Undrafted D3, transfer to Michigan, play forever in college in 2020. That's not an NBA player. He's a valuable NBA player. And I just look at it. It's as I watched it last night, I'm looking around and I'm like, this is what LeBron doesn't get. He doesn't get 20-year-old dropping 30. I think Kyle Kuzma is a good kid. I think he's getting worse. I remember when he first got to the Lakers, he'd have these 36-point games and these 29-point games kind of regularly. I think he's lost his total confidence. That's player development. There's a big now. NFL has this as well. The Green Bay Packers in the last 20 years 2 times have drafted a tackle in the first round. Why do the Packers always have a good offensive line? Because the Packers, somebody in there, the secret sauce of the Green Bay Packers is not just Favre and Aaron Rodgers. The secret sauce of the Green Bay Packers and the New England Patriots. The Patriots and the Packers. Nate Solder was a first-round pick for the Patriots, but mostly the history of the last 20 years is getting guys in the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th round or undrafted guys, and they develop them on the offensive line. The Packers and the Patriots always have good O-lines. There's not a lot of first-round draft picks in the last 20 years in the O-line. So Jimmy Butler talks about these young guys. It's not going away. This is what Miami and Riley do. This is their history.
Did you guys think he was capable of this?
Yeah, without a doubt. We know anybody on our roster that they're capable of that. It was his time. I hope it's his time the next game as well. It could be Duncan. I hope it's Duncan. It could be Bam. It could be anybody. But he definitely willed us to a victory tonight.
All right, let's talk. Lakers, by the way, play Denver tonight. Try to take, like Miami, a pretty insurmountable lead. We'll see. It's a close series like this one. So I love the NFL.